We are live. Welcome to the Jackson Rudolph podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Rudolph, and this is episode 92. Still crazy. We are up here in the 90s. We've been off the podcast for a few weeks because I had some medical school finals. The Compete Internationals happened. So we had a little bit of a hiatus. But in the meantime, looks like I've made some new best friends as Team Paul Mitchell has picked up 6 new players. Unfortunately, Samuel Diaz III could not be with us tonight. He's got a band rehearsal, which is super cool. We got to talk to him about that when we get him on the podcast. So, Sam, we miss you, man, and hopefully we'll get you on the show soon. But for tonight, we've got all 5 of our other pickups. We've got Ben Jones, Esteban Tremblay, Avery Presley, Dawson Holt, and Isabella Nicolai. I am so excited to have all you guys on the show. And basically, we're just going to have like a roundtable discussion tonight about Paul Mitchell and getting on the team and some of your memories of Paul Mitchell members before you guys got on. It's going to be a lot of fun. For those of you tuning in here on Black Belt Magazine, if you guys have any questions for these brand new Team Paul Mitchell members, drop those comments down below. I'm going to keep an eye on it. And if I see some good questions, I'll be sure to share it with these guys. But without further ado, I want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. We're going to go in the order that they popped up on the screen here. So if you guys could just give us your name, how old you are, maybe how long you've been doing martial arts, and maybe mention a few of your instructors, because there's a lot of our Black Belt Magazine viewers that know some of the history of sport karate. So when you mention some of your coaches, it might ring a bell to some of our listeners. So Ben, we'll start with you, and then just take it from there, y'all.
Well, I'm Ben. I'm 17 years old. I've been doing karate for about 12 and a half years. I've been training for just over 8 years, I think, with this guy named Jackson Rudolph. He's not too bad. He's got a lot of potential. So he's been my guy for the last 8 years. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. Esteban?
Hi, I'm Esteban Tremblay. I'm from Canada. I'm 17 years old, and I've been doing karate since I was 2, so it's 15 years. Yeah.
His dad's pretty good at karate, too. He's not going to say it.
He's okay.
Go Avery and Dawson, whichever one of you wants to start.
Yeah, sure. I'm Dawson Holt. I'm 18 years old, and I've been doing martial arts for about 12 years now.
Well, I'm Avery Presley. I'm 14 years old, and I've been doing it for as long as I can remember. My instructors, Jason Warren, Lauren Carney, Marcel Jones, Israel, my fitness coach. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Jake. Get him. He's my brother.
He's okay.
I'm Isabella Nicolai. I'm 13 years old. I've been doing karate since I was 2. Some of my coaches are Jeremy Epstein, Haley Glass, Sammy Smith, and Shaheem Jahanbash.
Well, thank you guys all for that quick little intro, and thank you, Bella, for saying that your last name is Nicolai, because I'm an idiot, and in my commentating I've been saying Nikolai. Call me out on that stuff. Thank you for that. Nicolai from now on, that's my bad. I'll hold that L. But anyway, so thank you guys all again for coming on the show tonight. Like I said, anybody that is dropping in, drop some comments for these guys. We want to ask them as many questions as possible. And we're just going to kind of keep going like a little round-robin discussion here. So the first thing that I want to do is forget the Paul Mitchell stuff for now. Let's turn back the clock a bit, because all of you are very accomplished sport karate competitors. That's why you got the opportunity to represent the coveted Team Paul Mitchell, right? So now I want to go around, share your favorite tournament memory, one of those big wins, a moment that you feel like has defined your career. It could be individual competition, could be sync, doesn't matter what it is, but what is one of your favorite personal tournament moments? So this is your excuse to brag about yourself, and if you don't brag about yourself enough, then I will, because that's my job. But anyway, so Ben, we'll start with you, and we'll go same order.
Okay, I gotta say, I was thinking of a couple different ones it could be, but I gotta say, about a month and a half ago, in Chicago at the Warrior Cup, I did sync weapons with Esteban. So we did a bow form, won that in the divisions. Then I did sync forms with Dawson in the division. We won that. Well, they put the sync forms and weapons against each other in the night show, and I'm in both teams. So I was like, I don't know what's about to happen. So we were trying to figure it out, and eventually it got to the point where they were like, just run them both. So I was like, okay, here we go. So I don't even remember. I think me and Dawson went first. So we go out, we do our thing, we finish. I run off the other side of the stage, pick up my bow, grab Esteban. We get on stage, we do our form, we finish, and then, that was it. We got our scores, and I was a part of both scores, so I had to jump from one team to the next. And then the fact that they're now both on Team Paul Mitchell with me is insane. So that's crazy.
I mean, we had to keep the squad together, right?
Yeah, you have to.
That's an awesome story. I love being there to watch that. That was crazy seeing you like switch between the teams, and then. But we'll have to see when Esteban and Dawson get to talking if they get possessive over you or not. But anyway, so Esteban, you're next. What is your favorite tournament memory?
One of my favorite tournament memory, I would say it's when I got picked on competitive edge, because before that I was used to compete, but never with a team. It was the first time that I had actual teammate, because I only had teammate when I was competing in Canada, but every time I was going to USA, I was alone, well, with my dad, but he was in the other ring. So so it was such a great experience to like feel a part of something, to feel like everyone is there for you. And I don't know, it was really special. And it's like at that moment that I was like, okay, it's gonna be my life forever. I'm doing karate, let's go. It's truly one of my favorite moments.
That's awesome. So definitely some sentimental value in that one. And he gave us a wholesome one, so I'll brag on Esteban a bit. Esteban has also won the U.S. Open ISKA World Championship. He's won diamond rings before. So Esteban has won a lot of those big championships. He just didn't choose to tell us about it, but that's okay. But Esteban, I do like that on Competitive Edge. Obviously, as a coach of Competitive Edge, it means the world for me to hear that coming from you. So thank you for that. And now we'll pass it down to a couple of other Competitive Edge alums. Let's go to Dawson and Avery. Favorite tournament memories?
Well, for me, I'm going to have to say U.S. Open this past summer. I ended up having a really successful tournament. I ended up winning three ISKA titles in one evening, almost four. And earlier that day, I had won my runoffs, and then back-to-back, I'd won the overall, the weapons overall, not the forms overall. And just having that much success in one evening was just at first it was a little overwhelming and hard to believe. There was a moment where I got a little emotional with my parents. And, my dad doesn't really get emotional that much. So for him to show some emotion of me winning, it just really broke me down. And being able to say that I almost won four, almost broke a record is also a great thing to say. But three is still cool, and yeah. And on top of that, from having to compete with that much forms was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, because forms take so much out of you. Just having to go back to back in just one day was a lot. But hey, I got it done, and yeah, I'd say that's my most memorable moment so far.
Which, by the way, Dawson says he was one short of breaking the record. He did tie the record. He's up there with some all-time greats and some of the only people to ever win 3 U.S. Opens in one evening. So again, I'm gonna toot Dawson's horn for him. That's a big deal, and that was in traditional weapons ISKA championship, CMX forms ISKA championship, and team demo with Competitive Edge. So Dawson, that was an awesome performance, and thank you for sharing that. Avery, what you got?
All right. So I was 9 years old, and it was my first time getting on stage for US Open. And I was so excited. I went to get my hair done at the little Paul Mitchell booth, and I ended up winning my first ISKA title. And that was amazing because I was just so young, so excited. And there's this cute little picture. My braid is sticking up in the air, and I'm yelling. And that was so exciting. Love that.
That's a great moment. I still remember you winning that U.S. Open. You don't know this, but I also have a video of you from after you won that U.S. Open of you talking about, winning and you just wanted to go to Disney World and all that. 'Cause we were going
Of course.
I need to send you that video after the show's over. But
Yes,
definitely great memories there. And last but certainly not least, Miss Bella, what you got?
It was 2018, and it was Pan Americans. I was in the runoffs for forms, weapons, trad, and trad forms. I was competing against these girls way stronger than me and like tall, twice as high, like taller than me. And I won all my 4 runoffs at that tournament. And I remember that time, like my face was like so, I was crying after, like I just won 4 runoffs in a row. I was exhausted. And then when I went to the stage, I had the Pan American trophies, like they had say Pan American. They were like twice my size. I was like up to here. It was just a great experience, just having 4 runoffs right in like my hands, and the grand champion, of course, and then 2 overalls. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for those of you that are tuning in that maybe don't watch sport karate so much, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable how impressive that feat is, because in those junior divisions, there's a traditional forms runoff, a CMX or open forms runoff, and then the same thing for weapons. And those are all of the divisional grands that you can compete in. So to win all of them is really, really hard to do. And I think that the last girl that I can think of to do that would have been like Dana Hewer, who was a Paul Mitchell member years ago, right back when I was a little kid. So Bella, that's certainly a cool accomplishment. And for those of you tuning in, I think it's obvious to see these guys all got on Paul Mitchell because they're all really good. They've all done some really impressive stuff, and I appreciate you guys being willing to share that with us. So moving on to our next question. Now we're gonna talk about what you guys want to talk about, which is wearing that black and white and being on Team Paul Mitchell. So we're gonna start with a fun one because everybody has their Paul Mitchell call story. So what were each of you doing when you got the phone call? Ben, let's hear it.
Okay, so I was sitting at a Cracker Barrel eating food, and then I look down, and it's a call from Jackson, and I'm like, oh shoot, if it's from Jackson, I gotta answer it. So I was like, all right, well, hello, and then he was like, I need you to go outside or whatever, get your mom and kind of step away. And he was like, gotta add someone to the call. And then as soon as Lauren joined the call, and as soon as she said something, I just started crying immediately. And I was like, I don't know, as soon as I saw the call from that it was Jackson, and then he was like, I need you to step away and get your mom. I was like, I was hoping, but I wasn't trying to be like, oh, it's happening, just in case it didn't. But then, when he did, it was like, yeah, okay, there we go.
See, I was afraid that you were going to think you were in trouble because I was like, are you with anybody? Like, you need to go outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's great. All right, so Esteban, your turn. What were you doing when you got the call?
So, before the call, I did an escape room with my family. And that, okay, I gotta explain. So basically, that escape room was starting in completely darkness. You couldn't see anything. And you got you couldn't see anything. And I don't like when it's dark. I don't like that. So I was so afraid when I got up. And then I was traumatized, no joke. And then I went home, and I was mad when I was eating. I was so mad. And then I saw my dad's phone ringing, and I was like, what's going on? And then I saw you and Lauren, and I was like, that can only be good, right? So then I answered. My dad accidentally pressed the FaceTime icon. I was like, Dad, what you doing? And then he called me in FaceTime immediately. I like Ben said, immediately when Lauren was starting talking about like we want you on the team, was like, what's going on? I can't believe it, and I just started crying. This was the most beautiful moment in my life.
That's so special. And hey, for viewers tuning in that are hearing that Ben cried and Esteban cried, grown men cry. Okay, when I got the call to join Paul Mitchell, I was 14, so I wasn't a grown man. But I cried too. So it's like, give these guys a pass on crying. That's like a life-changing moment. So thank you both for sharing that. And then I'm pretty sure Dawson's probably going to try to play it cool. Dawson cried too. But Dawson, I'll let you take it. I think were you asleep when you got the phone call?
So I was taking a nap, right? What was happening? I got home and I was gonna work out, so I was exhausted as it was. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just take a quick like 3-hour nap. So and then once I wake up, I go and work out, so I'd feel better. So as I'm sleeping, it's already like 6:25. I get a call from unknown caller. I wake up and I was, I hung up the phone, went back to sleep. Phone rings again. The phone's like right next to my head because like I was just so like tired. So like it rings, it wakes me up again. And for those of you that don't know, my ringtone is very annoying because I downloaded what's called a Nokia ringtone from 19 something. You'd have to look it up on YouTube. It's very annoying. And you can ask Ben because Ben watched me like set it up on my phone. It took me 10 minutes. But anyways, back to the story. So I get the phone call again. I look at my phone. It's from Jackson. And I was, I woke up and I was like, oh, seems serious. Oh, it could be something about Stink. Could be something about demo. I don't know. So I answer. He's like, Dawson, what you doing? I was like, oh, I'm at my house. Are you around anyone? I was like, no. And Lauren comes in and she's like, Dawson, are your parents around? I was like, no. And also when I hung up the phone, I have a very funny voicemail where I pretend I'm answering my phone, but I'm really not. It's just a prank. So Lauren's like, you probably, I fell for your voicemail. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So, and anyways, back to the story again. So I run downstairs. My mom's downstairs. She's like, what's up? I was like, it's Jackson and Lauren. I don't know what's going on. And so I got the offer and I froze. I froze because for one, I was still trying to wake up. I was like, am I dreaming? Is this for real? And, I was very speechless and a little emotional too. And yeah. That's my story of getting called.
Told only as Dawson Holt could tell that story. And that's true because Lauren and I were on like a group call so that we could call everybody. And then Lauren tried to call you and then got back on the phone with me and was like, he hung up on me. He sent me the voicemail. And I was like, okay, I'll call him. And Dawson didn't have Lauren's number at the time. But anyway, good stuff. Avery, what were you doing when you got
well, I was actually working out. And Lauren called me and I was like, what up, LK? And then she goes, oh, I'm gonna add Jackson. I was like, oh, this must be serious. And I'm over here messing around. And then I didn't cry in the call, but when I started like telling my instructors and thanking them, then I started crying. And so it was great. Nothing like as cool as you being asleep and having ringtones, but it was still fun.
But Avery, see, yours is like a normal story. Like that's how you were training, and then you got the call. Like that's how it's kind of supposed to go. You're not.
Yeah, I wasn't at Crackle Barrel, but
asleep or at Cracker Barrel or stuck in an escape room or whatever. Bella, what you got?
So I was actually at church when Lauren first called. She called my mom like twice, and then she texted my mom saying like, "Can we call?" And then actually one of my coaches, Jeremy, and he said, "What are you doing?" Just like straight, "What are you doing?" And then because usually I go to open gyms on Sundays, so he said to tell her that okay, text her. And she said she didn't answer, but she usually answers. So when I got home, my mom checks her phone and she was like, "Oh my goodness, you won't believe who called my phone." I was like, "Oh my goodness." My heart like literally stopped. And all I see is Lauren Kearney. So we called. So Lauren called and then you joined the call. And when Lauren offered me, I literally all the words that I could say was, "Yeah, I want to join." And then literally for like 2 minutes, I said, yeah, okay, yeah. I was like stunned, like I could not speak at all. So that's my my story.
And what's so funny about that is while we were on that call, I was like, she's holding it together really well. Like, she was ready for this because it was just straight up like, yeah, I'll join the team. Oh yeah. And it was like, okay, cool, let's do this. Anyway, good stuff, good stuff. So again, thank you all for sharing that. Again, everybody tuning in, thank you for the support. Drop those comments down below if you got questions for these guys. But I got another one next. So like I tell the story on the podcast all the time of like my moment that I decided that I wanted to be on Paul Mitchell. 2006 U.S. Open, which may or may not be like around some of the time that you guys were born, but we're not going to talk about that. So 2006 U.S. Open, I was sitting in the back row of the nighttime finals watching all these Team Paul Mitchell members win, and I looked up at my dad and was like, one day I'm going to be on that stage, I'm going to represent that team, and I'm going to win. And then 4 years later, I won the U.S. Open. And 2 years after that, I got on Team Paul Mitchell and won the U.S. Open, right? So that was my moment that I was like, that's the team I want to be on. For you guys, what was that moment? Because it's a lifelong dream of so many to get on Paul Mitchell, but there's always a different reason. There's always a different moment that someone made that decision. The same order, Ben, when did you know that Paul Mitchell was the team you wanted to be on?
Yeah, so I started with I really got into sport karate through the hyper stuff. So like the hyper martial arts, all that curriculum. And so I didn't really know much about how teams worked. So I just knew that I liked all these people who were hyper pros, right? So that's all I knew. So then I went to Battle of Atlanta in 2014, and our school had a little thing. It was like, get as many pictures as you can with the hyper pros. So because we were at a tournament, I went up to all of them. They all had Team Paul Mitchell on their shirt. And I was like, oh, shoot, these are all my favorite people. They're all on the same team. And then actually didn't get to go to that night show, which was pretty sad. We left right before the night show. I don't know why we would do that, but we did. So I didn't actually get to see them all compete, but I saw some of them like during the daytime elimination. So, but just for me to realize like all these hyper pros that were my favorite athletes to watch and that I looked up to were all pretty much on Team Paul Mitchell. So I was like, well, that's where I want to go.
That's cool. So hyper pros that happened to be on Paul Mitchell, and then you kind of met them and looked up to them. That's a cool story. Esteban, what was your Paul Mitchell moment?
So, well, my dad, Eric Tremblay, he did karate way before me, obviously. And, as soon as I can remember, he was telling me, yo, Esteban, this team is the best team, Paul Mitchell, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm 5 years old. Can you leave me alone? And then I kind of like grew up with it. And I had my dad beside me all the time was like, one day you're going to be on that team. You're going to be on that team. And then I started realizing like, what was Paul Mitchell at some point? I was like, okay, those people, the people that are on stage, I like to see they are all on that team. Yeah, of course I want to be on Paul Mitchell. So as soon as I remember, I wanted to be on that team. That was a dream.
That's awesome. I just picture like 5-year-old Esteban looking up from his like Nintendo DS playing Pokemon. And your dad being like, you're going to be on Paul Mitchell one day, son. I know you are. That's great. Now, Avery and Dawson, y'all are a little unique because you guys came up in a martial arts school where some of your instructors were Team Paul Mitchell members. I mean, Avery, they were your brothers, right?
Yeah.
I want to hear you guys' stories. So Dawson and Avery, when did you guys decide Paul Mitchell's what you want?
Well, just like Ben, I was really unaware of teams at the time. So in 2014, I didn't go that year. I watched the U.S. Open on ESPN2 at my grandparents' house. That's normally where we, watch the show. And so I see you competing. I see Caitlin Deschelle competing. Those are the first two like Paul Mitchell competitors that I witnessed. But I didn't know much about the team. So as time went on, when the Presleys were called, that's when I like officially like, okay, I started paying attention to competitors, and I, did my research like every other, I hope, young NASCAR competitor, every kid would do, is watch YouTube videos of everybody, of all the greats on Paul Mitchell. Like I could sit here and talk about all, so many videos of, Paul Mitchell competitors nailing a crazy form. Like I could go off like Kalman's last form. There's Rudy's form. Again, I can go around and talk about so many competitors on Paul Mitchell that I've, seen as a young kid. So that's when I officially knew, or that's what I knew. That's what team I wanted to be on as a young 11-year-old kid when I started the black belt division in NASCAR. And then, yeah, it's been a 7-year grind ever since.
Awesome. And Avery?
Well, obviously my brothers are on the team, so I grew up going to tournaments and watching them compete. And I guess just seeing everyone compete on stage that are on Paul Mitchell, like, wow, all these people are so good. Like, I want to do that. And I started competing like when I was 8. And that's when I really wanted to get on the team. It's just watching my brothers get on the team, and I know they loved it, and I knew it was a great team. It was the top, and that's like when I noticed I really wanted to be on the team.
That's awesome. And the reason I laugh is because I remember talking to Jake after you got added to the team. And one of the first things that Jake told me was that he was going to start making you carry his bags to the tournament because you're one of the rookies. So you better watch out for that, Avery. And then Bella, what was your I want to be on Paul Mitchell moment?
So as you know, my mom and my brother used to compete in karate way back. But ever since I was little, I used to come to tournaments, but I didn't compete yet. And I would see, like Dawson said, Kaden Deschelle, Jackson, Matt Emig, Casey Nash, and Tyler Weaver, and even many more. I used to see them compete on stage, and I was like, whoa, those people are so good. I want to be just like them. And they used to wear a Team Paul Mitchell, and I was like, whoa, that must be like the greatest team they have ever in NASCAR. And that really inspired me to be, I just wanted to be just like them, ever, like now too. So.
That's awesome. And I think that the common theme here that you hear everybody saying, even me, even though my story was older than some of you guys, you go to a tournament, you see the team members, and you decide that's what I want to do. That's who I want to be. And I think that that's a great message for any young competitors watching right now, is that, everybody that's on this podcast episode right now was in your shoes. Everybody was that kid that showed up to a karate tournament and saw Team Paul Mitchell people and was like, oh, they're so good, I want to do that. And with enough hard work and effort, anybody can do it, right? And I think that's the story of all of us. So that's something that I think is really inspiring for any young competitors tuning in to kind of take home from this. And now I want to kind of narrow in on a specific question here. And we always do something on the podcast called History Highlight, where we talk about some element of sport karate history. And I feel like this question kind of gets at that a little bit. And so you talked about, the moment that you wanted to be on Paul Mitchell. But what's your earliest memory of Paul Mitchell? Like, what's a moment that you can pinpoint and be like, I saw Kalman Choka's retirement form, or I went to the Team Paul Mitchell Experience seminar and learned this move from this person, or whatever the case may be. And this one can be a little bit quicker, but what is you guys' earliest memory of like a Paul Mitchell competitor doing something? Starting with Ben.
Mine's basically the same as the other answer, because once I saw that all these hyper pros, who were my favorite people to watch and learn from through the videos and everything, saw them all with the same exact shirt on, and I saw them compete with the same exact uniform on. I was like, well, that's it, And since then, it's been like for all of us, that's what I've wanted to be on ever since I saw it, like immediately.
So Ben gave us the easy answer. He said everybody. Ben, Esteban. Now it's your turn. Give us your first Paul Mitchell form that you saw.
Well, I was in tournaments and NASCAR events since 2010. So I guess I remember some Matamig form or some Caitlin Michelle. Well, I remember some of them some earlier form, but in the past I saw them, but I cannot clearly remember. But yeah, I saw Matt perform. I saw Caitlin perform. I saw Kalmachoka perform. I saw all of them, and it was pretty great.
See, that's what I was going for. Now we're getting some names. You got to see Matt Emig, Caitlin Deschelle, Kalman. Like, those are some of the OGs, right? And what's crazy about Paul Mitchell is, we've been around for over 35 years. So, like, what I consider OGs, like, those OGs have OGs from, like, back in the 90s as well, which I think is, like, the coolest thing ever. So thank you for that, Esteban. Avery and Dawson, what have you guys got as far as watching some Paul Mitchell members? Any memorable forms or a seminar moment, something like that?
I guess mine's going to be kind of the same answer as well. Well, I'll say it was you. Years ago, really the first time I've ever seen you, I remember you were still on Change the Game, actually. I don't know if you remember, but you came in town one time for a testing, just to perform, just a casual bow form. And I remember seeing you. I wasn't testing, but I was like I don't remember how old I was. I was like in the crowd watching. And then when I first saw you wearing Paul Mitchell was 2014 on ESPN. And that moment when you started your form, even your presence was very different from most average competitors. Even when you just ended your form, when you just went around and just nailed the form, you sat there, you took it all in. You just sat there and just watched in the middle of the room and just, you took it all in and just listened to everybody applauding and all this screaming. And I just knew that it was like, wow, this is a different type of competitor. And yeah, I was going to brag on you for a little bit. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Dawson. That was sweet. That brought back some goosebumps from those U.S. Open memories. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that. And then Avery, if you don't say one of your brothers, they're probably going to hurt you. So what you got?
Well, mine is also like my other answer, but my first memory is watching you, my brothers, and Kinsey at the night shows. That's probably my first memory. I don't remember much. I was like, I don't even know how old, really young.
Those were good times. I remember those days. And then Bella, what was the first? Because you've been around a long time. Like, I remember seeing tiny Bella compete. So what's your earliest Paul Mitchell competitor memory?
I have like kind of several. It was Diamonds when Kalman and Matt went head to head. It was Kalman's retirement form. His sword form was awesome. I thought he was the best in the world. I was like, he has a blindfold on. He's throwing swords in the air. I was like, I could not believe it. And also Matt, he did these awesome releases with his chucks. Like, I could not believe he did so many. Even when he was flipping, he was spinning them, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then it was U.S. Open. I saw Mackenzie and Sammy also going head to head for the ISK title. So.
And I love that you bring that up, Bella, because that is one of the great things about the history of Paul Mitchell is that we always have these rivalries within the team. So they're always friendly rivalries because we're teammates and we all love each other. But it's Team Paul Mitchell players that rise to the top of those divisions and have those epic battles, right? I was very fortunate to get a bunch of those between myself and Avery's brothers, Reed and Cole. And I got a couple in there with Jake too, and Tyler Weaver, and just having the opportunity to share the ring with those guys. But before that, Bella, you mentioned Matt and Kalman. You mentioned watching Sammy and Kinsey go at it. Way back in the day, you had like Carmichael Simon and Mike Chat and John Valera going at it. So over the years, there's been so many of these awesome Team Paul Mitchell, like friendly rivalries. And I think that's one of the coolest things about it. And we're going to get that with some of you guys, right? Ben and Esteban already go at it against each other. Dawson's going to go up into the adult division. He's already in the adult division, joining Jake and Alex Mancia, some of our active players. Bella, you're going to move up into Avery's ring next year, and y'all are going to go at it. So it's just like the coolest thing how we're seeing these friendly rivalries start to kind of turn back over. And what this team has always been about is not just having the best, but having all of the best, right? So I think that's really cool. So now we're going to go from, instead of looking back to the past, let's look forward to Ocean States. How special is it that you guys will get to make your Team Paul Mitchell debut at the tournament where Team Paul Mitchell was founded, which is the coolest thing ever? Coach Don Rodriguez's tournament, the Ocean State Grand Nationals. What are you guys most looking forward to about that? Is it getting to put on the uniform for the first time? Is it your first team meeting? Is it meeting one of the coaches? What is it that you guys are looking forward to most? Ben, take it away.
So there's obviously a lot of things to look forward to. I mean, like you said, putting on the uniform for the first time, finishing the first form in the uniform, just wearing the shirts, all of that. But I think probably the most is the JPM chant. I cannot wait to hit that. Yeah, that's got to be it.
The signature JPM woo. When we had our FaceTime, shout out to Jake Presley for putting a FaceTime together right after all you guys, Sam, got picked up. We talked about, like, should we do a JPM woo on the FaceTime? And we decided, no, we can't do it. It's got to be pure. It's got to be in person the first time it happens. So that will happen at Ocean States, rest assured. Esteban.
Well, also I'm really excited for putting my uniform for the first time, but beside all that basic stuff, well, it's not basic because it's your first tournament in Team Paul Mitchell, but whatever. It's probably gonna be doing Team Sync with that guy, because it's not just a solo performance. You're actually representing a team. So doing that sync, it's going to be like, okay, it's not Esteban or, it's Ben. No, it's Team Paul Mitchell going for sync weapon. And for me, I'm really excited for that moment, for real.
That's a good one. And by the way, keep in mind that Team Paul Mitchell has a 6-year U.S. Open sync weapons win streak that somebody's got to defend. I'm just saying.
Don't put pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
I'm teasing. Hey, we picked you guys up because we trust you guys to be able to step up to those big moments, and you've done it before, so you can do it. Dawson and Avery, what do we got? What are we looking forward to at those?
Well, I'll give you a simple answer: all of it. Just wearing the gi and have products and not just that, getting to connect with everybody, get to meet the coaches, and just, I think we were all put here and invited on here for a reason. And I think we all have something in common. We're all martial artists here, for crying out loud. And, we all have different backgrounds, different lifestyles, but, we all kind of have the same discipline, that mentality, and that determination to be able to, just execute our forms and just to be the best martial arts athletes that we can. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting to personally know everybody and just connect with them more.
Good answer, Dawson. That was perfect. Avery, what are you looking forward to?
It really is everything. The meeting, the chant, the gi, getting able to connect with everyone. It's just all exciting. I mean, there's not one thing that I'm not looking forward to. It's all of it.
I respect that answer. Bella, take us home. What are you looking forward to most?
Definitely putting the uniform for the first time. And also representing Team Paul Mitchell, and also doing my very best. And also very important, the stories. I want to know the stories. I just really excited for that. I don't know why, but definitely that.
I love that, Bella. And that's something that some of you guys that are big fans of the Jackson Rudolph podcast, you tune in long enough, you'll hear some of the Paul Mitchell stories creep out. And some of them we got to keep close to the chest, right? Some of them you only get in a Team Paul Mitchell team meeting. But there are some great stories that will almost certainly be shared with you guys. So that brings me to our next question. This actually gets at something that Esteban was talking about with sync. So forget about the active players, right? Because the active players, anything could happen. Anybody could wind up being matched up with anybody for sync, right? But let's go back in time. If you could pick any former Team Paul Mitchell member to do sync with, who would you want to do a sync for him with? Yeah.
So I might be breaking the rules here, so let me know if I'm out of line. But instead of just picking people to do it with, I would want to join the Matt Immig and Austin Crane sync form.
Mm.
Good choice. Hey, after this episode, if any viewers have not seen the Matt Immig and Austin Crane sync form, you go on YouTube and you find the Matt Immig Austin Crane sync form. Iconic sync form. That's a good choice. So Ben's going to join Matt and Austin Crane. Esteban, who are you going to pick?
Give me some chucks. I'm gonna do sync with Matt.
Esteban will try to keep up with Matt. You think your chuck speed can hang with Matt?
Don't worry about it.
Hey, I respect it. Good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Avery and Dawson, who would you guys pick?
Well, for a weapon sync, I would love to be able to do a weapons form with Kalman. I think that would be insane. And having to figure out the dynamics of like what, like a sync sword form, primarily like just creative, would be insane. And it would definitely be something no one would probably ever see before. As far as I can think, I don't really know of any CMX sword sync at all. So I think that would be insane. And plus, it's Kalman. He's very creative. And he's a very quick thinker, too, when it comes to that, just making stuff up. So that would be insane. And then for form sync, I was thinking about joining Kalman and Austin. But shoot, just put me with Matt. I'll try and keep up with him, too. That would be interesting.
I dig it. Ben, you got something?
If we can pick a form and a weapons, and I don't know, I'll stick with my forms choice, and I don't know if this is fair or not, but I'd go sync with this guy right here. That would be huge.
That would have been pretty cool. But you have Esteban instead.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's okay.
All right, so Avery, what about you? Who are you picking as your sync partner all-time Paul Mitchell roster?
Well, I'm actually trying to steal your sync partner, Jake.
Ooh.
So I'm working on that. I'm really trying. I got to convince him.
That's a good one. I'd love to see you and Jake go at it. So that's a good one. I mean, I said like retired Paul Mitchell member, but hey, we'll give you Jake. He's your brother.
Yeah,
We'll give you Jake. And then Bella, who you got?
For forms, definitely Austin Crane. And for weapons, also definitely Matt Immig.
Yeah, you're a Chucks person. How could you not pick that? It'd be blasphemous to not pick that, right? So that was a fun topic. I had to ask you guys that question. I figured we'd hear a lot of Matt and Kalman's because that was like the OGs of you guys' era. So that, I mean, you can't go wrong with those picks, am I right? I am a little bit disappointed that you Bo people, none of you said like Casey or Lauren, which is part of my lineage, but I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide this time. Next question. Let's see what we got here. This is another good one. So this is another just talking about past team members because I think it's a fun topic. Is there a team member that you've seen on YouTube or something like that, or maybe even you saw them on stage, but you never got to actually meet them and have a conversation with them? Is there any team member you haven't met yet that you really would like to meet? Because that's one of the cool things about the team is that sometimes at Ocean States or when we do certain special events, we get a lot of our Paul Mitchell alumni coming back to say hi to the team and have conversations with us, stuff like that. So if you could meet anybody from the history of Paul Mitchell, who do you most want to meet? We'll start with that.
There's just so many choices you could pick. I'll probably go Steve Terada.
Ooh.
Which I hope I actually can meet him someday because that would be sick. But yeah, I'll pick that one.
Hey, I saw on Instagram he's training hand combos again, so maybe he's going to show back up. Steve Terada is a good one, though. He's cool. Esteban.
And like, if I will choose someone that I saw competing, like Matt, I already did private lessons with him, like in the past. But I would say Common Shoka. I know Dawson's training with him, but I didn't talk to him at all. If I did, I was too young to remember. Like I probably said I, but that was the only word that I know in English at that point. So I would like to be like right now have a conversation with him, like, okay, what it was like to do that, and yeah, that's
So,
it.
so Esteban probably has talked to Calvin before, but it was just before Esteban understood a word of what he was saying, which is hilarious.
Exactly. I if he was talking to me, I probably just said like yes, yes, yes.
That was the extent of like 8-year-old Esteban English. That's great. All right, Avery and Dawson, who's your player to meet?
I never really got to meet Kevin Thompson. I would have loved to meet him. So that's my answer.
That's a good one. That's a special one. It was if you met Kevin, you never forgot it. I'll put it that way. I could go on for an hour talking about Kevin, but that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Avery, what's yours?
Mine is probably Lauren's like best friend, Casey Marks. I haven't met her, and I think that'd be really cool to meet her.
Yeah, you need to meet Casey Marks. That needs to happen. So yes, a great choice. And then Bella, who's yours?
Sorry, but someone like the janitor is vacuuming, so it might be like loud. So I would go with Dawson, Kevin Thompson, but unfortunately he passed away before we got on the team. So
Great choices. I mean, of course, I think everybody on the team agrees that we wish that we had a little time machine that we could go back and get some more time with him. Because even in those last few years where it got so rough, he was such an inspiration to all of us and such a light for all of us to look to, regardless of what was going on. So great answer from everybody. And Bella and Dawson, y'all, that's a good one. So now we're getting close to the end of the show here, y'all. So if anybody wants to drop those comments, by the way, you guys that are on the show with me right now, make sure you guys go back and look at some of these comments after, because you guys are getting a whole lot of congratulations messages from the sport karate community. So next question. Actually, I was going to ask what your favorite JPM story that you've ever heard is, but the more I think about it, you guys haven't gotten to hear the stories yet. So after Ocean States, maybe we'll do this again, and you guys can share your favorite stories from Ocean States. But so we're going to put a bookmark in that one, and we're going to go ahead and jump to this. I figure this answer might be similar across all of you, but it's a fun answer. So I wanted to give you guys all the chance to answer it. What is your favorite thing about being on Paul Mitchell? In other words, what does being on JPM mean to you?
Well, like we've already went over, it's kind of the dream team for everyone here, right? So it's like you want it to happen, you work for it as hard as you can, but you kind of don't expect it to happen. And then, like, the call just came out of nowhere. Like, obviously, I'm working towards it. That's what I'm hoping for, but I was never really expecting it to happen. So for it to just pop up out of nowhere after being my dream for like probably 8 years, that's huge. And then just to, try my best to honor the whole legacy of what it's been for as long as it's existed, and hopefully do my best to make the whole team and the executives and everyone who's come before us and for the future, make them as proud as I can.
That's a good answer. And I think you capture there something that so many Team Paul Mitchell members have felt, which is you spend your whole career working towards it, and then you get the phone call and you're like, it just happened. Like I'm on this team now. You know what I mean? And it's like, for me, I got on the Friday morning of a US Open, and it didn't really hit me until like after the tournament was over Saturday night. It was like 2 days later, and after I'd been through a whole tournament, that I was like, I'm actually on this team now. That's kind of cool. And I think you captured that beautifully there, Ben. Esteban, what does being on Paul Mitchell mean to you?
Kind of the same answer as Ben. I'm not gonna be original on that one. But honestly, it's just like I've been competing in a while with the mindset of like, okay, I'm going for that big event. Like, example, I'm going for a diamond ring. But in my head it was more like, okay, I'm going for a diamond ring, and if I won the diamond ring, well, I'm gonna look good. Maybe Paul Mitchell will see that. So every time I was competing for something in my head, I was like, well, do good because you know what can happen. And now that I'm on the team, well, like it's different because I'm not asking myself, well, maybe later I'm gonna be on Paul Mitchell. Now it's like, okay, I gotta win that because I want to look good for Paul Mitchell.
Now, and I
No,
think you
so, yeah.
capture something else there, Esteban, because I remember like when by the time that you get to be a good competitor, right? And you're on stage, it was almost like every time I would go on stage pre-Paul Mitchell, it was like, I wonder who from Paul Mitchell's watching. Like, I need to do good so that the Paul Mitchell people see this. And I remember one of like the most exciting moments of my childhood. So many of the viewers know that Team Paul Mitchell's fighting coach is Damon Gilbert. And Damon is a very big, strong, physically imposing dude. So when you see Damon in the background of a video, you're like, that's Damon, right? And I remember 2011 U.S. Open, which was exactly 1 year before I got on the team. I was obviously not on the team. And I finished my form at U.S. Open. And in the background of the video, you see Coach Damon stand up and hold his arms out and give me a standing ovation. And when I saw that on the video, I was like, I'm going to get on Paul Mitchell. Likes me. That's so cool. But that's really how it is. It's like every time you go up there, you're like, I hope the Paul Mitchell can see this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I like the fact that you explained it that way, Esteban. Dawson and Avery.
And
Oh, wait. Sorry, Esteban. Finish it up. What you got?
and also, if you mess up, you're like, I wish Paul Mitchell didn't see that.
That's true. That's true. We all feel that. And then Avery and Dawson.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll echo the kind of the same answer. Yeah, the beauty of getting on the team is the phone call is completely unexpected. I think everyone can definitely agree with that. And definitely to just, I still want to push myself to be the best that I can be and just continue the legacy. And not only that, I want to leave a name for myself when I leave NASCA, when I'm done or when I'm going to move on with my life. And I during quarantine, I made a deal with I had a conversation with myself one-on-one, and there was before quarantine happened, Paul Mitchell was looking at me and I was trying to do my best while they were watching and the whole world shut down. I was like, man, it's like nothing's happening right now. Like, am I even going to be able to have time to get on and represent at all? And so I had a conversation with myself to where like, all right, if I don't get on at all, I'm still going to be the best athlete and competitor that I can be, that I will leave a name. I will leave a legacy in the sport of doing my own thing and performing sort of the best that I can. And then I guess that was my work ethic was enough for them to be like, okay, we've been watching you for years. And that's what Steve told me on the call. He's like, I've been watching you for years. And I was like, so luckily, I got the phone call and that's one thing I am still on a mission to do, is just to continue the sport and also to inspire the next generation of kids that are sitting in the stands watching the night show. Yeah.
You guys are killing it. Like you guys are knocking this question out of the park. You guys are getting me in my feels here. This is awesome. Avery, follow that up.
It's going to be hard. All right. So, obviously it's my dream team. It's been my dream team for 6 years. And then it's almost like it was relieving, like getting on the team. It was almost like, I don't know, it was just my goal. And then finally getting on, it's just like, wow, I hit that goal that I've been at for so long. And it's just getting that phone call. It was just like, I can't believe it just happened. I still barely believe it, but exciting.
Awesome. And Bella.
You won't notice this, but definitely having two of my coaches on the same team that I am on, That is definitely exciting. Also, I have this board in my room that it says goals, and it's ever since like 2017, I wanted to be on Team Paul Mitchell. I've dedicated that for many, many years. And when I got that call from Lauren, I actually like remembered the time and the date. And then my mom like literally recorded me like checking it off, like to remember that day that I actually got called on Team Paul Mitchell. So
And that's, I mean, for those of you tuning in, you never forget the day. You never forget the date. Mine was Friday, July 13th, 2012. It is etched in your memory forever. Avery, I see your hand up. What's up?
Yes, and she reminded me. I actually had a shirt that I hung up above my bed. So every time I woke up, I was like, okay, that's the goal. Let's go. And I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Bella, for reminding me. But yeah.
Yeah,
Is
and
that like a shirt that you like stole from Reed Cole or Jake, or how did that?
Yeah, it was one of Jake's.
and yeah, the day when I was called, luckily it was my grandma's birthday at that time, so that was also very special. And for those of you that don't know, my hakama that I wore while I was on competitive edge, my grandmother made that for me, and so at the same time, it's not just me that's getting on the team; it's my whole family because they all supported me, and yeah, that's another thing that's valuable.
That is awesome. I love it. And now that you're on Paul Mitchell, you get to have one of the really cool black and white Paul Mitchell Hakamas. That's another big thing over the years is that a lot of the sword competitors have always had like a cool Hakama. Like Caitlin had hers that was like the diagonal with the black and white stripes. Kalman, I think, for the most part, always went straight black, but he was Kalman, so he can do whatever he wants. Right?
Okay, I did not know that. That's cool.
Ben, what you got?
Well, Kalman had the stripes on one leg.
That's right.
That's right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see. I got to study more film. Yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like Paul Mitchell sword competitors have always had like something, you know what I mean, that makes their Hakama a little different. So I'm excited to see what Dawson does with his. But anyway, guys, we're getting towards the very tail end of the show here. This has all been awesome stuff. And I think one thing that you're hearing from these guys, and I'm so proud of all of you hearing these answers and just the leadership that you guys are showing for the sport karate community right now and on all the competitors that are going to be looking up to you guys. And really the message is if you go out there and you do your job and you have a great work ethic and you continue to progress and you continue to get better, let the wins take care of themselves. Inevitably, you'll get that call, right? If you win enough, no matter what, you're going to get the right people to notice and you're going to get that phone call. It just takes time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and you can do it because, again, any of these young kids that are tuning into the podcast right now, everybody on this podcast was in that situation, right? Seeing those greats, wanting to be those greats, and then ultimately becoming someone that could join that legacy. Last thing that we're going to end the show with, and we're going to make this quick because we got to wrap things up here. I want to know what each of you guys' next goal is. Obviously, Team Paul Mitchell is a major check off of the metaphorical whiteboard that Bella gave us, right? But what is next on that list for each of you? What's your next goal then?
Well, I want to win as many sync titles with, let's see if I can point the right ways. This one right here. And this one over here for Team Paul Mitchell as possible. If I can win a few of those, with the two of them for Paul Mitchell, that's great. And then I want to get as many overalls as possible so we can get the count up for the team, Just stack it up. Yeah.
I have no idea what the math would be on like the career total of Paul Mitchell overalls that have been won.
It's insane.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I got to think about that because that'd be a fun stat to give out. Esteban, what's your next goal, my man?
Well, I will say that I won a diamond ring in junior. I won 2 diamond ring in junior. I won an ISK title, and the big win on the NASCAR circuit that I didn't have yet is a Warrior Cup. I've been on stage for AK several times, but I didn't make it to final. But next year in adult, we'll see. We don't know. But I'm pretty confident in myself, and that's one of my biggest goals right now. And also, like, winning again ISK and Diamond Ring because I'm gonna move up to adult, so it's not gonna be the same game. So yeah, that's it.
I love it. So Ben wants to keep stacking up wins. Esteban wants to get some of his wins that he's already got in the adult division add a Warrior Cup to the collection. This is all great stuff. Avery and Dawson, what are your goals?
Well, to overall grow as a competitor and that win more overalls, take more under my belt. I do need a Warrior Cup sitting in my room to wake up to. Haven't gotten one of those yet, so
That's a good way to word that.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have my overall plaque hung up at Diamonds. Just not trying to brag on myself, but anyways, to grow and also to maybe create more of a get the business type of things and to teach seminars and go out of the country and compete too. I'd like to go to Irish Open. I'd like to go to Irish Open and also be more innovative in the sword. I think sword still has more room to grow, and not just one, maybe two.
Ooh. We got an interesting plot twist from Dawson saying maybe he whips out another sword there. But I have this awesome image of Dawson just waking up in the morning and looking around his bedroom being like, man, this look a lot nicer for the Warrior Cup. I love it. Avery, what's your next goal, girl?
Well, I have many personal goals, but one of my biggest goals is to be one of the top female competitors and to really inspire other girls to start competing and to get on Paul Mitchell and stuff like that.
That's a good one. Be an inspiration for other athletes. I love it. And then Bella, what is your next goal?
Definitely to put my name out there, like Avery said, inspiring other females to actually compete. And just to train harder and win more tournaments than I have. And also, I want to win a Warrior Cup too. I want to also, like what Dawson said, wake up and just see a Warrior Cup in my room.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, I love how consistently everybody wants a Warrior Cup.
I might as well say I want a Warrior Cup too.
Yeah.
Right.
I
didn't say it, but yeah, it's there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's funny because I joke with Gabrielle about it all the time because we're getting married in June, and I've won a couple of Warrior Cups in my time, and I always tell Gabrielle that we should take 4 of them and we should craft a bed out of the Warrior Cup. It can just be in the guest room. That's okay, but she won't let me do it. But anyway, if she ever does let me do it, then I'll let each of you come and sleep over so that you can work up and sleep the Warrior Cup.
A Paul Mitchell sleepover.
Even better, go win something. We can make that happen. Anyway, but guys, this has been so awesome. I've had such a good time with all of you. And from the bottom of my heart, I could not be more proud of these pickups. You 5, and then, of course, adding Sam Diaz as well. As some of you viewers may have seen in the press release, I'm very humbled and fortunate to have been named a player development coach for Paul Mitchell. And so to be able to be involved with the team long-term, past the time that my competitive days are over, and to be a leader on the team with people like you that I just heard so many great stories from, and you all have great heads on your shoulders and good hearts in your chest. And it warms my heart to know that I'm going to be able to be involved in that and be right there with you guys, supporting you. And it's going to be special. Paul Mitchell's always been special. It's going to stay special. And that's why some of you guys might have noticed that my hashtag for the past few months, I've been using hashtag JPM forever on everything. It's because a pandemic happened. And then everybody was like, hey, Paul Mitchell's a little bit smaller now. JPM forever. This is the team that never dies. We're going to be around for years to come. And these 5 young players are going to be a huge part of that future. Could not be more proud of you guys. Thank you all for taking the time to come on the show tonight. Thank you to everybody that is tuning in, This has been episode 92 of the Jax Rudolph podcast. Shout out to Black Belt Magazine, our sponsor and host of the podcast, as well as Century Martial Arts, and of course, Team Paul Mitchell, the team that all of us on this call represent. Cannot wait to see everybody at the Ocean State Grand Nationals. You guys will be getting another podcast episode before that. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I still haven't talked about Compete Internationals yet. There's new NASCAR rules, especially for point fighting, that just dropped last night. Make sure you check out the Black Belt Magazine article about that, because that will be in effect for the Ocean State Grand Nationals. I think that's everything that I was supposed to say. I got one more thing. That's right. My last thing is act like we do with every episode we've got. If I can get the banner to show up, technical difficulties. There. Oh, it disappeared again. One more time. Sorry. There we go. Challenge of the week, the hashtag JRP challenge. As you've heard these new Paul Mitchell recruits talking about some of their favorite memories watching Team Paul Mitchell competitors, the JRP challenge for this week, post a photo or a video of you with a Team Paul Mitchell member, put that hashtag JRP challenge and make sure you tag me in it so I see it. And if you complete that challenge, you've got a chance to be featured on next week's episode of the Jax Rudolph podcast. So once again, hashtag JRP challenge, post a photo or video of you with a Team Paul Mitchell member. And if you are a Team Paul Mitchell member, you can also join the challenge with just like a selfie, you know what I mean? But anyway, once again, this is episode 92 of the Jax Rudolph podcast. I'm your host, Jax Rudolph. Thank you to all of these Team Paul Mitchell members for coming on the show, and I'll see you next time.